Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ben, and this video marks the beginning of a new series titled Dear Bungie. It will consist of all the brilliant ideas floating around our community that may shape the game we'll be playing for hopefully the next 3 years. Now, I don't expect these changes on Destiny 2's launch, but if you've played Destiny since year 1, you'll know that the game we have today is a lot different than it was before. So it's not unreasonable to expect community-suggested changes to be implemented in the game. In the past, Bungie's taken inspiration from a number of content creators here on YouTube. One example that comes to mind is Datto's very detailed idea for a raid boss encounter, Victorious the Scrying Eye. While the mechanics he suggested didn't end up in King's Fall or the Wrath of the Machine raids, many aspects of Datto's idea inspired some PlayStation exclusive content. So that's kind of the inspiration for this series. I'll start the first video by listing 5 ideas I'd like to see in Destiny 2, and I'll follow it up with another 5 because I came up with 10, I didn't want to yap for 20 minutes straight. But beyond that point, the video topics will be decided by you. If you come up with something novel or share some ideas you came across on Reddit or the Bungie forums, type away below. Be sure to include details. This will hopefully spark the interest of other community members, and who knows, we may inspire a playlist or at the very least a patch in the new game. So, without further ado, skis, let's start this open letter / wish list to dear old Bungie. Item number 1. Alternate supers. Now there's been a lot of buzz about new subclasses in the news lately, because somebody that knows some Bungie leaked info about some lions or serpents and phoenixes. This is not that. What I'm suggesting is alternate versions of existing supers. For the past 3 years, supers like the Hunter's Golden Gun have been roaming supers. But what if the subclass tree included another node that would alter the super significantly? What if instead of a roaming super, one node turned your hunter into Christian Bale from the movie Equilibrium? Here's the scene in my brain parts right now. Of course, if they went with this idea, they would have to limit the range of the Golden Gun, but everyone that would otherwise have died to a Fist of Panic attack would be turned to dust. How cool would that be? That would be awesome! And what of Titans? The Bubble Bros of Destiny could get a bubble suit. Well, I guess that would kind of make it an overshield, but instead of being the conventional overshield, it would be something like the Crimson Doubles buff Broken Heart. If you don't recall that buff, it gave you increased agility and recovery while at the same time boosting your reload speed. I'd personally make the recovery boost a reward for getting kills while supered like Cauterize on Sunbreakers, and give Titans the option to choose either Blessings or Weapons buff for say 20 seconds after super activation. And of course the super activation would have to be something epic and dramatic, maybe something like the transformations we saw in the movie Thor: The Dark World. Remember when the elves turned into the Cursed with a K by squeezing the little glowy hacky sack thingies? Except these would be purple, of course, because of void reasons. Like, how menacing would that be? Moving on. I guess I gotta share one for the Warlocks now because it's only fair. Well, first thing that comes to mind when one thinks of Warlocks is too far, bro. We all know Warlocks reach the unreachable. It's what they do. So for the Sunsingers that have been less effective at range compared to their Stormy counterparts, a potential alt super could involve the use of a weapon called a rope dart. If you don't know what that is, think Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Except this rope dart can only be used, say, 4 or 5 times at most, and only extend about twice the distance of an amplified Stormlock melee. Too much? I can tell I'm losing you there? Maybe take away fusion grenades for balance reasons. I don't know, you can probably tell I didn't spend too much time coughing that one up. Oh, and don't wait till the end of the video if you have an alternate super idea for a given subclass. Share it, I'm all eyes. If people like your idea, I'll be sure to give credit where credit's due in an upcoming video of this series. Number 2. Legendary Kiosks. Once upon a vanilla Destiny, our vaults looked like this. Believe me when I tell you, times were tough. I remember sitting there sweating like I was defusing a nuke when it came time to make room for that one new gun I liked. It was bad, so Bungie upped the limit to 108, and now we've pretty much come full circle. Solution? How about putting that gunsmith to work, for real this time? Gunsmiths. The name suggests they're smiths of guns, no? Wouldn't it be great if the gunsmith could create a blueprint of, I don't know, that special, now extinct, solar damage primary weapon I've been holding onto for no reason? For armor pieces, especially raid gear, maybe make an armor smith that'll save armor pieces for those of us that are dismantly challenged. So we can keep the stupid gear we never wear but absolutely need. I can't imagine this being really difficult considering a lot of our SRL gear is readily available at the kiosk right now. Number trace. Hammers in PvP. With the rise of iron, we got hammers in the Plaguelands tied to public events. But considering how easily swords, which were not in the original game, were incorporated into PvP, it is a totally viable idea that hammers could make that same transition in Destiny 2. Assuming, of course, Lord Saladin and Lady E don't go anywhere, and it doesn't seem like they will be, the addition of hammers to PvP could mean classic game types like Juggernaut from Halo, or zombies and Mike Myers from literally every other first-person shooter could be playable. Imagine a Rumble-like setting where one player with increased armor, recovery, and agility runs around with a hammer, while the other 5 people in the game fight to kill said player. But to be honest, I would settle for hammers being made into heavy weapons just like swords were. To set them apart from swords, I'd probably add a deflection mechanic to hammers so that executing a perfectly timed ground smash would deflect any incoming projectiles like gravity hammers of Halo. If you recall, those were awesome. Number 4. A new Trials of Osiris progression system. Without a doubt, a big part of Destiny's longevity in the community has been the elusiveness of the Lighthouse. Even as recently as last week, you'll see around 300,000 accounts participate in the Trials of Osiris. Of those participants, only about 10% make it to the Lighthouse. That, in my opinion, hints at a problem with the Trials progression system. As a mainly PvP player, I can't imagine playing this game for 3 years and saying, I've never finished PvE activities like the raids. Like, that would be wrong. So why is it okay to create such an unobtainable task for PvE players that want to experience PvP to the fullest? Solution? Well, there are 2 ways you can solve this dilemma. Number 1. Introduce skill-based matchmaking into the one playlist where it would be considered appropriate. The fact that 1v3s happen so regularly is a sign that something is wrong with the win-based matchmaking system. Number 2. If win-based matchmaking isn't going anywhere, and it hasn't in the past 2-3 years, losses should erase a previous win or two and not the progress of the entire card. Think about how absurd it is to invest that much time and to have potentially 1 round erase an hour's worth of progress. The PvE equivalent of losing the 9th round on the 9th game on a card is like failing to stagger kill Oryx after 16 simultaneous detonations and getting kicked back to the ship jumping puzzle. Like, seriously, it's just not fair. Especially considering all the Weasel, Anteater, and Baboon action you'll see throughout a flawless run. Which do you think is a better option? Number 5. A social playlist. Ever since Bungie introduced rotating vendor roles at the tower and weapon-specific bounties, the urge to try out new weapons has been overwhelming. I've been field testing ARs for about 3 weeks now, but the fact that there is no social playlist means that I'm more likely to encounter people that run your standard Luna Mapador setup with a legendary sword to look around corners than not. Now, I can do that too and level the playing field, but I'm way past the hand cannon shoddy phase in my relationship with this game. Nowadays I try new things to keep the game interesting, but sadly I have to carry my first aid kit into every game just in case it gets too moist. Every time I find myself in those lobbies, I think to myself, this weapon doesn't belong here, and neither do I. My strategy is not in the mood for you, Luna. Which is why social playlists would be such a reprieve for those of us that just want to continue trying dumb stuff and getting away with it. Is that too much to ask? In my defense, I'm way easier to kill when I'm fooling around with non-meta weapons, so I feel like everyone kind of wins if a social playlist is introduced. Just saying. How would you feel about the addition of a social and ranked playlist? It seems to work in games like Overwatch, so I don't know, I can totally see it being a thing in Destiny 2. Anywho, that about sums up the first 5 items of my wish list. Part 2 of this video will be coming up soon, so stay tuned. Until next time, God bless and deuces, bye!